This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Company Half Hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, light, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. Right now, Steve Engel and I are talking about Medicare products. Like I said, it's one-stop shopping on your insurance needs because they care. In fact, I'm going to give you an exact quote from Steve Engel, which tells you everything about why I deal with Purdy Insurance. And it comes down to, let's see, here we go. Ding, 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 right here. He said, he said that there are various approaches to reach the least expensive but appropriately effective plan. That's Purdy Insurance right there. Okay? There are various approaches to reach the least expensive but appropriately effective plan. See, that's Purdy Insurance right there. Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Todd, good day to you.
Good afternoon.
So, I'm going to assume your daughter did have soccer practice last night.
Yeah, it's actually stopped raining around here for a little bit. It was a little muddy.
Yeah. But you didn't have to go out. Did you leave the car?
I did have to take Gatorade, a case of Gatorade from my trunk to the coach's pickup truck. So I did leave the car for 5 minutes.
There you go. Perfect. Well done. Meanwhile, that guy on the baseball field yelling at his kid on the t-ball field, that was Catrillo. What are you doing? It's a T. What are you doing? Wait till one of his kids is out there, okay, picking clover. What about that day shows up? Ay, ay, ay. So, all right. So last night we got a valuable lesson in the unpredictability of sports. Is it unpredictable that, for example, the Golden State Warriors without Steph Curry will lose? No, that's not unpredictable. No. Right? So that stuff happens. That the Celtics would win without Jason Tatum, and for the most part really don't have Kristaps Porzingis. Okay, it's a mild surprise, but they're playing at home and they get some pride. They're the defending world champions. Okay. But Toronto, last night, Toronto, home ice, series tied at 2. Really big game, important game for them in the recent history of Toronto Maple Leafs hockey. And they laid an absolute egg. An absolute egg. They lost 6-1.
Like an ostrich egg.
I mean, huge. And they asked Craig Berube, the coach, after the game, like, how do you explain this? And he looked at him, he says, it's sports. He says, sometimes you have nights like this. He said, it's sports. And that is the absolute truth. And that is the part that I think there are some fans, not all, but some fans have trouble grasping. I was on a show this morning, and I was asked about the expectations for the football season. And that's a question I always expect anyway, so it's not like it's out of the realm or out of the ordinary about expectations, especially with this particular team in this particular year. Okay. And I said, look, fans have a great luxury, and I appreciate it very much because the fans are incredible. There are some that want the luxury of skipping to chapter 16 of the book and finding out what the ending is. Okay, I understand that. But if you're coaching it, or you're playing it, or in our case, for example, Jack Ham and I were broadcasting it, you don't have the luxury. You have to go out, and every week is a big week for you. Toronto, you assumed last night that, wow, this is one of the biggest games they've had in a while. And here we go, and they laid a total and absolute egg. They laid an egg. And it happens. In college football, that becomes difficult. Let's give Notre Dame credit. They overcame a loss last year to Northern Illinois early. If they had one more loss anywhere, they don't get to the national championship game, because if they have one more loss anywhere during the regular season, they are not in the college football playoff. That's the kind of damage that Northern Illinois game. And to their credit, they stayed perfect the rest of the way until they got to Ohio State. I mean, credit where credit's due as to what they did. Penn State, and I expanded upon the answer a bit because I explained that in 1986, I had the privilege of being a part of the radio network at that time, where I had, so you talk about being so fortunate in your career. I had two of the greatest mentors you could possibly ask for working with me at the time, in Gil Santos and John Grant. Well, I was the third guy on the network. I did fill in on the Pitt game that year as the color analyst because Gil couldn't be there and John did the game, and John was an excellent play-by-play guy. And I said there was a game in that season which everybody forgets about because everybody goes to chapter, in that particular year, chapter 13. And, or in this case, I guess it would be chapter 12. They go to chapter 12, and that's the win over Miami. And yeah, people do remember in '86 about the win at Notre Dame, beating Alabama, right down in Tuscaloosa, beating Pitt. Okay, they remember all that. But everybody forgets about the Cincinnati game that year. Penn State's playing Cincinnati. And fourth quarter, it's a game that everybody expects Penn State's going to win. Yeah, they'll beat Cincinnati. It's no big deal. All of a sudden, in the fourth quarter, Penn State's not winning. Penn State's not winning. In fact, Cincinnati's up 17-14, I believe. And Penn State gets the ball maybe midway through the fourth, and they faced a 3rd and 10 in their own territory. And John Schaefer hit Blair Thomas over the middle at the 50-yard line for a first down. Then he hit Thomas again on another pass play, And eventually the drive ends with David Clark knocking it in from, 3-4 yards out. I'm talking like a power run where he broke tackles and made a play. Okay? And Penn State takes the lead. Then Cincinnati got the ball back, had to punt, and it was Shane Conlon that blocked the punt. It goes out of the end zone. It's a safety. Penn State wins the game 23-17. I said, well, look, the bottom line is you don't win the national championship unless you beat Cincinnati that day, especially in that era where you have a lot of people taking a long, hard look at teams, and if you have one loss, it's crippling, and, there's a lot of things. Okay? And they won that day in a game they were supposed to win with complete ease. Instead, they had to fight their guts out to win, a lot like the Bowling Green game last year. And I realize that there are the tendency to skip past games is one I completely understand. Hey, how are they going to play when they get to the Ohio State game? I understand that, completely understand that. I always have. But I also understand the other side of the coin. Because in a small part, I have to live that as well. In other words, I can't broadcast the Ohio State game on August 30th. I have to broadcast the Nevada game. So when you're doing this as a team, as a coaching staff, support staff, players, trainers, doctors, whatever, it is a day-by-day operation. Day by day.
I was going to say, plus a coach will beat you if you start talking about November and August.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I think if you have the culture that's in place, in other words, he doesn't have to tell Drew Aller, Nicholas Singleton, Katron Allen, Khalil Dinkins, Drew Shelton, Venga Ioane, Nick Dawkins, Nolan Rucci, Anthony Donko. He doesn't have to tell Liam Clifford or Denai Dennis Sutton or Zane Durant or Zariah Fisher or Dominic DeLuca or Tony Rojas or A.J. Harris or Elliott Washington or Davian Collins. Okay? He doesn't have to tell them that because they've already lived it. And in turn, if you have somebody getting ahead of themselves, you have players that are in that room that can set it straight as to, hey, guys, hey, don't assume anything. No, is it really? I mean, James will reiterate it, but he's at the point now in his program, and he has so many veterans within the program, they can, in a lot of ways, take care of that element themselves. When you have good leadership, you have people that can take care of it. It goes back to the old Joe Paterno quote about early in his career. He says, yeah, I don't worry about the locker room. He said, I got Reed and Smear that can handle that. Right? So it's the same thing with this. You don't worry. You always worry about everything, but when you have veteran leadership, which this team has, guys that have been around the block, you can look at them and they can pass on the message before you have to.
I think that's kind of an underrated, important part of the roster retention part is that, not only is it keeping that talent, it also keeps your locker room together and keeps your, I'm sure that James doesn't have to worry about his locker room this season either because of that group that has been through it and knows his expectations and knows that you can't look ahead.
And there's another element. In other words, all these players I'm talking about have, each level of the football team has guys like that. Quarterback room, Drew Aller. Running back room, Nicholas Singleton, Katron Allen. Tight end room, Khalil Dinkins, Luke Reynolds. Okay? Wide receiver room, Kyron Hudson, for example, would be, and Liam Clifford would be two of the leaders there. Then Dennis Sutton can walk into the defensive line room with Zane Durant and Zariah Fisher and say, hey, guys, Dominic DeLuca and Tony Rojas can do that with the linebackers. A.J. Harris, Elliott Washington, Zakee Wheatley can walk into the DB room and tell everybody. I mean, in other words, when you have it, it's not just having it, Todd, it's having it at each position group. And when you have it at each level of the position groups, now you have something that is really, really... coaches want to coach. They don't want to babysit. And this allows the coach and the coaches to do more coaching and less babysitting. And when you got to be the one that it's got to come from your voice all the time, it's like, geez. I mean, when it's always got to be your voice, that gets to be taxing on the coach because they want to coach.
It also gets taxing on the players too because it's the same voice. Same
voice over and over again. Although that's what I always love when a college coach has been there a while, and I'll read something. I'll say, well, they got sick of hearing the same voice. The players change over every 3 to 4 years. It's the fans that got sick of hearing the same voice. Just be honest about it. I always love that. Like, no, that's probably not. No, the players change over. No. You need a new voice. No, that's not. No.
I'd like to see a coach save his job just by changing the octave or the timbre of his voice.
Right, exactly. Oh, did you see the ESPN headline? Did you see this?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh, no. They're always a beauty with headlines. I already knew what the story happened to be, so it doesn't really matter. It was about Belichick. And the headline was, Belichick has addressed personal life with players. What happened was he got asked a question down in Amelia Island, and he said, well, we talk about it. He said, I talked to the players about a lot of things. That was the quote. And that's how we got to, he talked to players about personal life? Really?
It could be one of the lot of things.
Exactly. It could be 1,000 things. Are you kidding me? That's the headline? He gave a generalized Belichick quote. We talk about a lot of things. Right? It's on the Duke. It's on the Duke.
You literally put something like Pokemon in there and it'd still be the same thing.
I know. It's just kind of sat there and went, really? And I already knew what he had said, so I didn't even open it. So I didn't do the clickbait thing. But that's what all this stuff is. Yeah, clickbait. Maryland did hire an athletic director, by the way. After Kevin Willard told everybody that Evans was leaving to go to SMU. Maryland hired Atlanta Braves executive Jim Smith as the school's athletic director. Been an executive in Major League Baseball, the NFL, MLS with the Columbus Crew, and also at one point was in the Ohio State Athletic Department. Had his own consulting firm at one point. There you go.
Does being a pro sports executive these days prepare you for the amount of stuff that's going on all around college sports?
Well, the part about contracts does.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the part about internally having to pay people.
His budget might be bigger at Maryland than it was in Atlanta.
Could be. No, it could be.
I mean,
but, I mean, it does prepare you for that part of it. I think you have to have, maybe not in the athletic director's job, but as you know, I've talked about a capologist. And I think you need to have somewhere in this grouping. It does not have to be your GM. It does not have to be your GM. And your GM does not have to be somebody that is doing athlete acquisition. Okay? You don't have to have somebody like that. Penn State doesn't have that system. Okay? Andy Frank is essentially, he's the GM. All right? But James is involved in all the personnel decisions, and the personnel part has not changed. But you do need somebody somewhere that understands the finances of this, understands that you've got X amount of money to work with, and understands how to dole out that money so you don't exceed what your internal cap happens to be. It's a jigsaw puzzle. The really good ones understand how to do it. That's why you do have to look, I think, to somebody with pro experience that has the ability to understand the numbers and make the numbers work where when the puzzle's done, you've got the full picture.
I mean, the pros learned very quickly that you had to separate the money and the personnel part.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, no, it's not. I think anybody who's in the pros, they completely understand it is a business, and you don't get too attached.
Game time or just fun time, doesn't matter what time it is, because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection, imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you, and thank you for your years of patronage.
Get the Nissan you want, free from tariffs, plus great Memorial Day savings only at W&L Nissan. Take on the adventures in a Nissan Pathfinder, more towing capacity than competing brands, and offering 0% financing for 60 months, or 1.9 for 72. Or find yourself in the award-winning Nissan Rogue. With prices starting under $29,000, you can enjoy ample cargo room and fuel-efficient ride for the summertime travels. Load all your gear in the tactical Frontier that comes standard with 3.8-liter V6 engine and up to $4,500 in savings to make those river trips more enjoyable this summer. From our U.S. manufacturing plant to your driveway, get in a new Nissan today off Route 15 in Shamokin Dam and online at WNLNissan.com.
Financing for well-qualified applicants only through NMAC Financing. See dealer for complete details. 2025 Rogue base model, MSRP $28,595 starting price. Frontier VIN SN630537. See WNL Nissan for complete details. Offers end 6/2/25.
At Buffalo Wild Wings in Sealands Grove, we proudly salute our military heroes of yesterday and today. Your bravery, sacrifice, and commitment to our country will never be forgotten. This month, we're honoring those who serve with bold flavors, cold drinks, and the camaraderie you deserve. So bring your appetite and your pride to Buffalo Wild Wings in Sealands Grove. Wings, beer, sports, and a heartfelt thank you to our military. Buffalo Wild Wings in Sealands Grove, where heroes are always welcome.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very
calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
And now, a no-frills ad brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Here it is. You could save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive. That's it. See? Just a good old-fashioned, straightforward ad. See if you could save at Progressive.com.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf online, sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, the best in new inventory. Great warranties. And great safety features. And not only that, terrific service department that backs it up every step of the way. Yeah. Quick lane, inspections, routine, difficult. They handle it all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Yeah, I was asked today about the possibility of a preseason ranking where you don't have to look very far to find where Penn State's listed. And I said, well, I'd rather be around a program that has expectations than is in the middle of the pack begging to somehow figure out a way to get to the top. I mean, I'd rather have the expectations. And I think they have a mature enough team to handle the expectations. And you're going to need that. You're going to need a mature team. You're going to have a lot of people, hey, you're great, you're incredible. It's okay, great. And I do tell, when I was teaching, I was telling them all the time, I said, look, I said, if people praise you, I said, for the work you're doing, just say thanks. I said, people criticize you? I said, you'll have people out there criticize you. I said, who cares? I said, you have to worry about, like, somebody who's in charge of you that criticizes you. I said, that's what you'd have to worry about, because they're the ones that do the hiring and the firing and make the decisions. I said, somebody that has no idea how to do your job, they think they can, but I said, don't pay attention to it. Literally, don't pay attention to it. I said, but when it comes to the praise part, I said, just say thanks and move on. Right? And that's the advice I gave them. Well, it's the same thing with this. The exact same thing with this. Where you're sitting there and you guys are ranked here and here and here. It's like, guys, just slow down. Just slow down. And that's something that you just want to, fine. Means you're starting inside where you need it. You're starting inside in the coveted area you want to be in now, and do not play like you have something to lose. Okay? That's something that always becomes a problem for some teams that are not as mature. They'll get to a certain point, and then they will start to play a game as if they have something to lose. What do you I mean, you can't play that way. You can't play as if you have something to lose. And I've seen that happen over the years. Where you're like, what are you doing? Like, don't act like you have something. Just go play. Just go play. Let's see. Opening weekend NFL season, pretty good. Eagles, Cowboys to open the season. Chiefs, Chargers in Brazil Friday. Ravens, Bills on Sunday Night Football. Bears at Soldier Field hosting the Vikings on Monday Night Football. Not bad.
I feel like the NFL feels like Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Steelers eventually as well.
They put the Jets and the Steelers in the opening game of the season. Do they know something we don't? I don't know. I mean, the Giants have the most difficult schedule based on winning percentage, but then again, they've got the Eagles and the Commanders in the same division, so they're going to play. That's 4 of their games. Okay? And they do have to play Kansas City because they've got the West this year, too, which means they've got to play Kansas City, the Chargers, and the Broncos, who all made the playoffs. So it's just based, whatever.
I wouldn't be excited if I was Daboll and the GM, though. That's a lot. That's a lot of work to save my job.
Right. I mean, you could be 0-4. I mean, I don't know. You could be 0-4 to start. They open with road games against Washington and Dallas. They've got home games against the Chiefs and Chargers. Okay. But then once they get past that, once the Giants get past it, they've got a little easier road. The Chargers have to travel over 37,000 miles this year. It does not help that one of the games is in Brazil. Primetime games. Thursday, Sunday, Monday. Chiefs have 7 to lead the way. The Eagles have 6. Falcons and Packers have 5. Ravens, Bears, Dolphins, Steelers, Chargers, Bucks all have 4. The Patriots and Giants have 3 each. The Raiders have 2. The Cowboys have 6. The Bills have 5. Niners with 5. The Lions have 5. Denver, Cincinnati, Chargers, Commanders, Vikings all have 4. Texans have 3 primetime games, as does Seattle. 2 for the Arizona Cardinals and 1 for the Indianapolis Colts. That means that the Titans, the Browns, and who is the other team? Titans and Browns don't have a primetime game, nor does Jacksonville.
I thought I saw Jacksonville had 1 because somebody commented that it's a little. I don't think people thought in a 6-year Trevor Lawrence's 6th year that they'd only have 1 primetime game. But and it's weird that you'd think they'd want to get Travis Hunter on TV a little more too.
Yeah, I would think so too. To me, that Thursday Night Football screams that. And the Thursday night schedule, by the way, I looked at it, looks pretty good. Thanksgiving, Cowboys and Chiefs. Detroit and Green Bay. And what's the third one? And then Christmas Day, you've got the primetime game. I think it's the Chiefs and the Broncos. So,
at least Christmas is a Thursday this year, and they're not making them play Wednesday.
Right. But again, they're playing. Not only are they playing Saturday, opposite the college football playoff. But you look at the times. It's not 1 o'clock and 4:30. It's 4:30 and 7:30. They're going to go head to head with the primetime college football playoff game.
I do find it interesting, dumb. I don't understand why they're. I'm with you. I don't understand why they don't talk this through a little more.
But they don't have to. They have scorched earth.
Well, I know, but
they're a scorched earth organization. The NFL. They don't care what's in your way. Here's the holiday games. Packers, Lions, I mentioned. Chiefs, Cowboys, I mentioned. The other game is the Bengals and the Ravens. The Black Friday game is the Bears in the link against Philadelphia. Christmas, Cowboys, Commanders at 1. That's on Netflix. Lions, Vikings, 4:30 on Netflix. Broncos and Chiefs on Amazon Prime at 8:15 Christmas night. Like, they don't care. The NBA plays on Christmas. They don't care. College football plays playoff games on a Saturday. NFL doesn't care. They're a scorched earth organization.
It is interesting that one of the things that Ted Cruz has brought up in his college athletics thing is enforcing that 1960 law that they have about them playing on Sundays and being a little more. They've let them, obviously they've let them get away with playing on Black Friday and other days, and that's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, they're not supposed to play on Saturdays.
Well, they're also not supposed to. The reason the Black Friday game is like at whatever time it is they're not allowed to play until then on Fridays either.
Right. Let me see. Jacksonville? Let's see. Where's Jacksonville's schedule? I don't think Jacksonville is a primetime game. Raiders, Chiefs, Jags. No, they got a Monday night. You're right. Monday night game with Kansas City. They got a Monday night game with Kansas City. Trying to think who there's supposed to be 3 teams that don't have primetime games. Titans and Browns are 2 of them.
Panthers?
Maybe Carolina doesn't. Panthers. Nope, they got a Monday night game with San Francisco.
Bryce Young, Brock Purdy, be there.
Well, Brock Purdy's brother quarterbacks Nevada.
Oh.
So he'll be in here on August 30th. Yeah, the Cardinals have 2 primetime games. For some reason they listed them as only having 1. Atlanta's got boom, boom, boom. Carolina's got 1. The Bears. Some of these are like, for example, the Browns play nothing but Sunday. So no primetime games for them, unless there's a flex late in the season because of some miracle. Texans, Colts only have the 1 Monday night game. Okay. Jags have 1 Monday night game. The Chiefs have 5,000 games. Plenty for the Raiders, Chargers, Rams. The Dolphins have a lot of primetime games. Vikings have obviously primetime. Patriots have 2. Oh, the New Orleans Saints. Saints have none. Saints are the other team. So Saints, Browns, and Titans are the ones that don't have primetime games.
They weren't thrilled by the Derek Carr-led Saints, and now he retired. I can see why.
Well, let's see here. Monday, Thursday, Giants. Let me just make sure. Bang, 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 bang. Yep. They're all. Yeah. Everybody else does.
You said the Bears in there. Did you see the Caleb Williams story today?
Yeah, he didn't want to go to the Bears?
Well, that part of it, but the other part in the Seth Rickersham story was he apparently was never taught how to watch film, and the Bears coaches just threw him in the room and told him to watch film and didn't tell him what to watch or anything.
Well, you would think with Lincoln Riley, 3 years with him, he had to watch film, right?
I wonder if he held his hand throughout the thing, or, the way they do it now, maybe it was just all cut up for him.
Maybe, because, look, people talk about Sean Clifford being here. And Sean, by the way, he's got another deal with the Packers. But people will talk about Sean Clifford. And should Drew Aller have been the starter that year? No, Sean Clifford should have been the starter, and I can say that as somebody that watched practice every day. The right guy started. And one of the elements that Clifford taught Aller how to do it was how to watch video properly. And that is something that is very underrated. And that's really helped Aller a lot. And, of course, what's Aller doing? You want to pass it down. He's doing the same thing with Ethan Grunkemeyer and Jackson Smolik. Doing the same thing. Yeah. So, if he has nobody to pass it down to him, maybe he had nobody to pass it down to him at Oklahoma, because he certainly would not have anybody to pass it down to him at USC. He walked into USC and was the starter right away.
Again, I just wonder if somebody in college just cut it all up for him and just, this is all the plays this is all the defenses they run on 3rd and long. This is all the defenses they run on 1st and 10, and he never really had to sit down and actually watch the game and take the notes and figure it out himself.
Oh, that's a distinct possibility. I mean, that is a distinct possibility. I'm just saying that I'm surprised a guy like Lincoln Riley, with his guy, wouldn't have been somebody to teach him how to do it. But if you don't have any teammates that pass it down to you, and I cannot remember for the life of me the name of the starting quarterback that he replaced at Oklahoma. But if you have nobody who's going to teach it to you, you're not going to know how to do it.
And I was going to say, Jackson Dart was the one at USC before him, and he was probably gone before Caleb got there.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, Caleb Williams walked into USC as the starter.
Yeah.
Right? Oklahoma, he took over early in the season, where Lincoln felt he had to get something.
Spencer Rattler.
Spencer Rattler. Okay. The question would be, did Rattler teach him how to watch tape at all?
Did you ever see those Netflix special clips from when he was in high school? I would guess no.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a distinct possibility. I mean, unless you have somebody, you have to have, we always talk about that fancy word culture, for example. If you have the right kind of culture, you have older players teaching younger players. I'll never forget Tariq Castro Fields on the sidelines of practice all the time, pulling young corners aside, explaining them how to play something. And that happens. Zakee Wheatley does that today with everybody. I see A.J. Harris do that with players. I see Elliot Washington now do that. Hey, you have to have older players who are secure enough in themselves and in their own progress and their own game to pull a younger player aside and teach them how to play the game, because they, A, might get in the game, and B, down the road, it's going to help the program. If you don't have that, and maybe Spencer Rattler's not that, or, let's not put it on other people, maybe Caleb Williams didn't have a desire to learn it either.
Well, the game wasn't quite as hard for him in college as it is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as I said, remember when he got drafted, I said that he is tremendous in havoc plays. The problem is most times he's the one that created the havoc. So, yeah.
That seems to be the big realization with Cam Ward the last couple of days, is how good he was in the pocket last year.
Yeah. Now, Cam Ward is one of those calm, cool, collected guys. He may be one of the least appreciated first overall draft picks I've ever seen.
Titans have no primetime games?
no primetime games, or you're not going to really get a chance to see them except on highlights. And go from there. People aren't really going to see them. Yeah. But learning how to tape, okay, it's one of two things. Nobody took the time to show him how to do it, or two, he had no interest in doing it. Okay.
Like I was going to say, they watched film in high school. I can't believe his high school coach didn't show him a little bit. But then again, you're so talented. Do you really need to watch film when you're that good in high school?
Well, I remember when we watched film, it was on Mondays, and it was film. It was film. Projector, the whole thing. And we watched it as a team. Every play. We watched it as a team. No breakdowns of position groups or anything like that. And if you made a mistake or the coach had a question, you had to answer the question in front of everybody. Okay. So.
Sometimes the easiest way to learn is under lots of pressure.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah. In other words, I mean, that's how we did it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did it, but that's how we did it. And we actually had a projector. Oh, no, he's going to rewind it. Oh, he's going to rewind it again. It's the same play. I got it. We did it wrong. Okay. Every once in a while, he'll rewind it. You did something right. Like, okay, good. Now, let's watch this again. Okay, I'm more than happy to. Yeah, keep playing it.
Were they still called pancakes back then? Did they show you all your pancakes? Weren't you an offensive lineman?
I was, and statistically, I had none.
No.
But the key was I played all the time, so all good. Played all the time, all good. Mark Brennan, next half hour.